We are here to talk about the lessons learned from the Chiefs Cardinals preseason game for the defense. I want to apologize briefly for having to break this video up. I have been having some computer issues and I could not get anything to work, and I wanted to get some content out. So I just got the offensive side out first. And let us start with I do have sort of some overall notes for the defensive side of the ball that I didn't do for the offensive side of the ball because it seemed like there were greater themes in general with the defense than the offense. Now, we're going to start with the defensive line, and we have to start where we have to start, just like we did on the offense, and that is with the fact that OMARR Norman-A-LOTT looked like OMARR Norman-A-LOTT. He was a lot bigger than I remember him being in college, and I did notice him get some push. I didn't notice a lot about his first step. I don't know. I would say he's gained LBs because it looks like he put on an entire linebacker. The OMARR Norman-A-LOTT experience thus far has been very, very odd. It has been there's no holdouts really anymore with NFL rookies, but it was kind of a holdout. There's no real, it's very rare that you have a defensive lineman come on to the Spagnuolo line and start basically as soon as he gets there, especially if he's getting there kind of late. OMARR Norman-A-LOTT did. OMARR Norman-A-LOTT was known for not playing a whole lot of snaps in college, but having an electric first step. He shows up, and it looks like he might have consumed the former OMARR Norman-A-LOTT. I don't know what's going on with OMARR Norman-A-LOTT, but the coaches still seem to have all sorts of faith in him. So, okay, I'm on board. It's just that looks like a completely different player. We drafted an electric pass rushing defensive tackle and ended up with a run stuffing defensive tackle like Keandre Coburn. That's just wild. And I say he didn't really stand out on film very much, but kind of hard to do that if you're still learning a lot of technique. I don't see any reason to believe that we're not getting the OMARR Norman-A-LOTT that we were promised on draft night. We're just getting a little bit more of him. So I don't know exactly how it's going to go with OMARR Norman-A-LOTT. He was difficult to get a read on coming out of college as well. There were times when because I do some mock drafts on this channel for the Chiefs, and I was waffling back and forth whether or not I thought he was a good prospect or not, just because I think that his game is very unique. And if your game is unique and then you go and change the U in the equation, I don't know. We will have to see. I have faith that we will get there. Ashton Gillotte appeared to be exactly who we thought he would be. Very high energy, very high motor, very good at crashing down the line. I thought that was impressive. I don't know that I saw him do that too terribly well in college, just not something that stuck out to me. But he looked very good crashing down the line last night, and that is an important tool for a defensive end to be able to have because it stops the cutback lane and it limits the offense's ability to have sort of explosive plays on non-explosive play designs. And that's one of the things that has really sort of cut the Chiefs deep in the past where it's just a draw. Well, that draw went for 40 yards. No, it's just a pass to the flat. Well, that pass to the flat went 45 yards, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. So assignment sound edge players is a good thing. On the defensive line, the only player that really stood out, popped on film, was Janarius Robinson. But kind of that's what can happen when he's a really good athlete. And that's what happens when you're a really good athlete against a third offensive tackle. So I don't know if what he did last night really disrupts the flow of things on the defensive line, but maybe it gets him some exposure for that next contract he's going to sign. Maybe it gets him put on the practice squad for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs don't have a whole lot of depth at the edge position, obviously. Last year, they didn't have starters at the edge position. So Robinson might have a future here in Kansas City, but I don't think it's going to be on the 53. One other guy that I said I didn't think was going to be on the 53, but it appears that I was mistaken. I have underweighted, ironically, Jerry Tillery on this roster. He is a steady hand, but man, are there sexier options at that defensive tackle position. Talking about Coziah Izzard and Fabian Levette, but they did not, either of them, stand out to me. I don't remember seeing, I'll have to go back and get a little closer to the film, but I remember seeing Izzard, didn't notice him doing much, right? So how closely did I notice him? I did not notice him all that often. How much did he play? And then I don't remember noticing Fabian Levette at all, but he had a half a tackle. So, or an assisted tackle, I guess, as they are now called. So that tells you how old I am. So they were both on the field. Izzard, I believe, had an assisted tackle as well. So, God, I think that they have so much potential that I don't want to see them get cut. I don't want to see them go to the practice squad. I want to see them on the 53. But Jerry Tillery, I think, was really, really a steady hand last night. So it might be that even the potential there gets outweighed by Jerry Tillery. The defensive line did not look very effective to me overall. There were moments later in the game, and I know those are your third string guys, whatever. There were moments later in the game where they were just stonewalled. No push at all. Earlier, the top two strings of the defensive line, I thought, got some decent push, but they still weren't all that apt to close the job, right? They weren't all that apt to get there and really cause disruption. So I don't know. It's early, right? And you don't know exactly how that's going to translate deep in a game. You have to think that the defensive line is going to wear down on the offensive line, but it could be the other way around. So with a Steve Spagnuolo defense, do they really turn things on? Do they really get that rotation down? I don't know at this point. Moving on to linebacker, I've got a hot take, and here's the thing. I put some of this out there in the earlier video today about, hey, I'm a Nico fan, right? So you can't be mad at me for saying I don't know if he's going to make the team. I was the original Jack Cochran fan. I made the original Jack Cochran UDFA, this guy has some tools, he's going to be around video. I promise you that. I don't know if he's going to be a Kansas City Chief in 2025. He looked outright bad on defense. You pair that with the fact that Cooper McDonald seems to be absolutely racing up. Cam Jones with the injury, but I believe he came back later in the game. So it must not be too terribly bad with what happened with Cam Jones. But I don't want to say that for sure. I don't know for sure if he came back in the game. And then Brandon George didn't look bad on defense either. I thought that Brandon George was going to be a little bit of a liability on the defensive side of the ball because he was not particularly effective at linebacker in college. He was just a really good athlete who was out there playing the position. I thought that if anything, Cooper McDonald would be a threat to be the UDFA that makes the team at the linebacker position because there always seems to be one. And then you would have Brandon George, who would spend a year on the practice squad and be a special teams ace next year. I don't know that Jack Cochran showed you anything to make you believe he needs to be on the 53 this year if you have anyone that can replace him on the special teams. He plays a lot of special teams for the Kansas City Chiefs, but he did not look good at all on defense. And hey, maybe I was reading his assignments wrong. I don't know what I was talking about, but he was always a half step behind and a quarter second late. And that just it showed up on film, if you ask me, last night. I also thought that Leo Chanel looked bad in that game, and that pains me to no end to have to relay, but I don't think he looked good. I think that he looked slow. I thought that he looked unathletic, and he's always had a little bit of a problem with coverage. I think that anytime Leo Chanel was in coverage last night, it could have been a completion. I really do. And look, here's the thing. So, like I said in the earlier video, it's preseason. It's early preseason. The numbers are still difficult for me. Maybe I was looking at the wrong guy because I was genuinely shocked with how poor I thought he looked in coverage. Someone who did not look poor in coverage, who did not look bad on the field, Jeffrey Bossa. Like a future starting linebacker, he looked. So the Chiefs, this is one of the ultimate trades in NFL history, perhaps. The Chiefs, with the 31st pick, might have ended up with a franchise left tackle and a starting linebacker. Moved back, picked up the 5th round pick, picked the linebacker with the 5th round pick. Might have been an all-timer of a trade. A Veach fleecing. We need to have those pullovers. Veach fleece. Could be an absolutely wild trade there. But the one thing I would say overall with the linebackers is they looked soft in coverage. And we saw that all last year. We saw linebackers that would repeatedly give up the same routes to the same position, and it was just aggravating all year. And it does not look like that has changed. It does not look like that's going to change. So I'm not sure what to make of it, but it is upsetting. And I was really high on this linebacker core. Moving on to cornerback, Noel Williams will pass Najee Johnson on the depth chart, possibly as early as this next week. Noel Williams performed the rock bottom on a punt cover, and all the unsung players on the roster to get excited about, Matt Araiza might be one of them. Last season, they kind of had him reined in. With that punt, with making that punt, executing that punt, and realizing, hey, if these punt returners have to back up all that far, it might be just as bad as Dustin Colquitt's opposite spin on the ball as far as making them drop the football. We might get to see Matt Araiza just absolutely unload holy terror from his leg this season. So maybe look forward to that. But Noel Williams, I thought, looked good, pretty good on special teams and on defense. He's bigger than I thought he would be. Bigger than I thought he would be, and that's a good thing. I think he looks like a safety out there. So interesting in that regard. The speed did not look to be an issue last night, right? He is a little bit of a slower cornerback. Did not come up last night. Maybe it won't. Joshua Williams is getting absolutely hosed. I don't know how it is that he is below Najee Johnson on that depth chart, but something has to get figured out. Joshua Williams maybe will be flipped for another corner, I guess. It will be interesting to see how this works out. But Joshua Williams, I was spent all last year wondering, what's going on here? Has he fallen off? Does he not take things seriously? I don't know what it is. There must be something there, but I, for the life of me, cannot tell you what it would be. Christian Roland Wallace looks like he has gotten better since last year. Oftentimes, defensive plays like the Jaden Hicks interception in the preseason come as happenstance. They come as accidents or mistakes made by the offense. I went back and watched that Jaden Hicks interception probably 15 times. I have no idea what Kyler Murray is doing. Kyler Murray on that play, triple clutches. And it's like he's saying, all right, I'm just going to throw it to him. I want to get off the field. I got Call of Duty waiting for me. Let's end this evening and let's it rip. So I don't know what that one was, but sometimes big plays on the defense in the preseason are just an offense making a mistake. Christian Roland Wallace looked more assignment sound last night than he did last year. Of course, that's exactly what you would hope and expect. But to see that it was, in fact, the case is a good thing. If Veach is involved in trades, don't be surprised if he tries to get a high upside corner. And don't forget, Deon Bush was injured. It certainly seems, I haven't gotten word yet, it certainly seems that his season is probably over. So I imagine Brett Veach signs a cornerback with that roster spot that is suddenly open as well. Now, a couple of notes at the safety position. Mike Edwards is not making this roster. His name looked like it was plural last night. If we're talking about Norman-A-LOTT getting bigger, Mike Edwards looked like his last name was plural because he looks like he is bigger and slower than ever he was. We have maybe some spots open at the edge position, Mr. Edwards, if you would like to make a push there. But I don't think there are people who think that he is absolutely safe on this roster because he's a veteran, etc. And I get it. That might be true. That might be the case. But if you were a veteran, the upside to having you is that the downside is low because we know who you are. You have done this before. I think the downside might be pretty great on Mike Edwards. He does not look like he looked when he came to Kansas City the first time. Athleticism was not his strong point. And he looks like he manages a five and dime on the field right now. He does not look the part of a professional athlete, or he didn't last night. Maybe I should be fair. Jaden Hicks got on the highlight reel, but I thought that he had an overall pretty poor night. I thought that he had a rough game tackling. I thought that he had a rough game in pursuit. And like we talked about with the interception, that seemed to be Kyler Murray wanting to get to the sideline to pull out his tablet and play Call of Duty. Do they have Call of Duty on tablet? I have no idea. It's been so long since I played a video game. But I thought that he actually looked rough last night. Doesn't mean he won't be better than he was last year. Doesn't mean he won't be the superstar that I think he can be. But I do think so. The DeMercado, the running back, had believe it was a screen, and it was a touchdown. You know the play. I had to go back and check. I still want to say in the back of my mind I might be wrong because this was an embarrassing level play. He breaks into the open field, does DeMercado, and in front of him is Jaden Hicks. Jaden Hicks breaks down and waits for the running back to get to him. They're like 4 or 5 yards apart, and Jaden Hicks just breaks down and waits. And DeMercado runs right around him. So there's a quote from William Faulkner, something to the effect of, the past isn't gone. It isn't even past. Something like that. And if we are seeing Najee Johnson, a.k.a. William Barty, out there, and we're getting this level of play from Jaden Hicks as well, It's going to take me right back to previous years of Kansas City Chiefs. Where's Julian Battle, right? Where's Julian Battle when you need him? But a rough night, I thought, from the defense overall. The thing worth remembering is how often that defense was absolutely maddening the past couple of years. And at the end of the day, they had given up 17 points. At the end of the day, they'd given up 21 points. You're supposed to win games in today's NFL football league where you are giving up 17 points, where you are giving up 21 points. Unfortunately, the past couple of years, sometimes the offense couldn't get to the upper hand of that, but more often than not, they did. And I do think that it will come together. It's also worth acknowledging that the past 3 seasons, the defense for the Chiefs has kind of been one of these processes of gelling as the season went on, and the defense that ends the season is far superior to the defense that starts the season. So worth keeping that in mind as we look at what we saw versus the Cardinals as well. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.